Anybody else have that problem? I don't know who I'm talking to.
Rob sent out an update with the meeting agenda in it, I believe, in the original meeting invite. I believe that's when the agenda was distributed.
Well, what I got from him yesterday said that agenda would be coming, and it didn't. Nothing came after that. The one that had the attachments with the 2 testimonies, and then one other document that said the agenda would be coming.
Sorry, this is Rob. I'm just trying to track all the attendees, but I can't see who's asking the question.
It's Ruth Smith.
Oh, okay, thank you, Ruth. Yeah, you should have received 3 communications. One was the original announcement, and the second one had the agenda, and then the third had the communications for the testimony.
Okay, I thought that referenced the agenda. I apologize.
Yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, we did kind of send it in sequence. So if you don't have it, I will, as soon as I finish logging everybody in, I will send you a copy.
Live is going, Keiko.
Keiko, you want to give just a couple more minutes for folks to join in before we start?
Crystal.
Koleka, let me know if that link in the chat doesn't work. It takes it to the our general YouTube channel.
It worked. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Keiko, you want me to go ahead and get started? I'm not sure how many more attendees are yet to log in according to who had RSVP'd.
I think we're past even the ones who had RSVP'd, so that's wonderful. Yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Awesome. I'll call this meeting to order of the Island-wide Community Development Plan Action Committee meeting for December 16, 2020. It is 4:06. Aloha, everyone. Thank you for coming today. And welcome to our meeting of convening the Island-wide Action Committees. I'd like to note that because we're convening all ACs consistent with our AC guidelines, I will be acting as the non-voting chair and presiding over this meeting. And I'll remind folks that this meeting is being streamed live and recorded on YouTube. The recording can be accessed at any time by the link provided in the agenda or by searching County of Hawaii Planning Department within YouTube. And just a reminder of our virtual Aloha etiquette. We ask that one person speak at a time with no side conversations. We ask that you mute your device to promote high audio quality. Please put your name in the chat and wait for recognition before speaking. We have a large number of folks, and so I'll be using the chat box to help facilitate any questions that come about. Please speak slowly and clearly and close to the microphone so that we be sure that we hear what you're saying and sharing with us. And please limit distractions and turn off mobile phones and other devices. We will begin with a roll call. If you could please unmute and answer when your name is called. And let's see if I can get that list up. Brad Kurikawa.
Here.
Carol Ignacio. Crystal Kua.
Here.
McKnight. Nicolette Hubbard. Rhonda Pollard. Robert Nishimoto.
Here.
Ton Keeney.
Here.
Charles Young.
Here.
Thank you, Charlie. David Huerta.
Here.
Franz Weber. Janice Palma-Glenny. I think I saw Janice. Janice, are you able to unmute and say that you're here? Okay, we'll come back to Janice.
Here.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Janice.
Sorry.
Kari Kimura.
I'm here.
Thank you, Kari. Marissa Bankston.
Here.
Thank you, Marissa. Rosalind Molina.
Here.
Jane Palacat Nelson. Shirley David.
Here.
Chris Cackley. Jeff Coakley.
Here.
Thank you, Jeff. Jack Olson. Brent Norris. Dan Dumizio. Franny Brewer. Leila Kealoha. Mark Hinshaw. Susie Osborne.
Aye, present.
Thanks, Susan. Yumi Kawano. I think I saw Yumi there. Yumi, can you unmute? Okay, I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Diane Kaneali'i.
Switch to this. You might as well use that for your agenda and use this for Zoom, okay?
That's what I said.
So then you're not gonna, why do you have this open?
I'm gonna join.
Okay, let's do that.
Yumi, you're here, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect.
Sorry, we're
Thank
gonna. Computers.
If you can just mute while we finish our roll call, that'd be great. Julia Olives.
Present.
Awesome.
I'm here.
Julia. Karen Anderson.
Leave.
Here.
Thank you. Bear with us, folks. We're almost there. Kevin McLaughlin. Mark Gordon. Pete Hendricks.
I see Pete, but I think you're on mute, Pete. There you
I'm
go.
here. I'll go mute again.
Thanks, Pete. Ruth Smith.
Here. Did you hear me?
Yep. Bethany, I think you're muted.
Somebody muted me, Keiko. Okay, so we were on Ruth. Okay, Tristy Liquan.
Here.
Awesome, thanks, Tristy. Bill Sanborn.
I'm here.
Thanks, Bill. And then also, let's see. Okay, so that is all of our AC members. Woo! That was some work. So I also want to report back, just for the record, who I have down as not present. If I call your name and you're here, please correct me. So not present today is Carol Ignacio, Jeff McKnight, Nicolette Hubbard, Rhonda Pollard, Franz Weber, Shane Pellicott Nelson, Ackley, Jack Olson, Brent Norris, Don Demizio, Franny Brewer, Leila Kealoha, Mark Hinshaw, Diane Kanaali'i, Kevin McLaughlin, Mark Gordon, and that's it. All right, thank you guys for bearing with me for that protocol there. Okay. I also want to note that we do not have quorum for all ACs. So in this unique situation where we're convening everybody, it's really tough to make quorum for everybody. So while we cannot have any deliberating or decision-making on our agenda item, we can move forward with public testimony and the presentation by planning staff. And we can, action committee members can answer or ask any questions of the planning staff during that presentation. In addition, the attendance and minutes from this meeting will be reported back to the action committees at their next duly noticed meetings. For the record, I'd also like to note planning staff in attendance today: Keiko Mercado, Kamuela Plunkett, Kara Bacher, Eric Cook, Rob Leisure, and myself, Bethany Morrison. In addition, I'd like to acknowledge our council members in attendance. And I think I saw Holeka Inaba and Heather Kimball as well with us. Looks like maybe, oh, also Rebecca Villegas and Ashley Kirkowitz have joined us. Thank you guys so much.
And we have, I believe we have Shelly from Councilmember Deloitte's office online as well.
Thank you, Holeka. Welcome, Shelley. With that, I'd like to move on to the public testimony part of the agenda. We have two members of the public who've submitted written testimony, which will be read into the record. Rob, can you please read each testimony for the record?
Sorry, I should be unmuted now. Thank you. The first public testimony that I will read came in under Communication 2020-01, and it is coming from the Kupuna for the Mo'opuna. So the comment is an urgent call for the establishment of a Hilo Community Development Plan Action Committee. Aloha. We, Kupuna for the Mo'opuna, submit the following testimony regarding the Island-wide Community Development Action Committee convening. Our testimony is an urgent call for the establishment of a Hilo Community Development Plan Action Committee. The convening of the Island-wide CDP Action Committee is premature until an overdue Hilo CDP Action Committee is established. With the daunting outlook of Hawaii County's economic recovery, resources for responsible planning must be prioritized and used in efforts to establish a critical Hilo CDP Action Committee. A critical Hilo CDP Action Committee must be the priority of the Planning Department so that the grossly outdated Hilo CDP of 1975 will receive required action in order to bring it current. Without a current Hilo CDP, the voices of Hilo CDP residents are being left out of the Island-wide CDP Action Committee and the Hawaii County General Plan 2040. See attached testimony to County Council Committee Communication 659-13 on November 17, 2020. We will continue to seek every opportunity to shed light on this urgent matter. Mahalo kupuno for the mo'upuna Panaeva Hawaii. And furthermore, they do show the submission expressing a similar need to the county council, as well as then showing some historic information on the CDP highlights from 2017. So that completes the first public testimony from the group Kupuna for the Mo'upuna. Regarding the second testimony that we have, we do have a second one coming under Communication 2020-02 from James Sogi. I have not seen, I don't know, Eric, have you seen if James Sogi has joined us? He had asked to participate in the meeting, and if is present, then we can have him read his testimony into record.
I have not seen him join the meeting yet, so it's possible he may join later.
Okay, then I shall read it. So this is James Sogi's public testimony for the All Action Committee CDP meeting, December 16, 2020. My name is James Sogi, and I have lived in the Holualoa, Hawaii for 40 years. I was born on the Big Island. My family has been in Hawaii for 5 generations for 115 years. Tourism should not be made the top priority for economic development. Tourism is destructive to the land, to the culture, and to the people. Many jobs go to mainlanders who come here, not locals. We have to bring in workers to build hotels. The land development destroys access to beaches and resources like the Mauna Kea Beach Hotel, allowing only 10 local cars to park. The end result of tourism as a priority is Waikiki, which is bad. The Polynesian Cultural Center type of entertainment is disrespectful of our local Hawaiian culture. Tourism is not reliable, as we find now during the Iran crisis, during 9/11, during an airline strike, during economic downturns on the mainland. We cannot rely on tourism. We should promote local business as we did for 100 years before tourism came to the Big Island. Promote agriculture, promote high tech, promote local services, promote remote working, promote small scale, culturally sensitive tourism by local people. Please do not put tourism as a top priority. There will be some tourism, but it should not be our main economic engine. James Sogi. Mahalo. So that is the end of the 2 submissions that we have for public testimony.
Thank you so much, Rob. Since that's the end of testimony, we can get started with our presentation. Keiko will begin the short presentation, and we ask that since there's a large group of us, everyone hold their questions till the end. And as you have questions, you can put your name in the chat box, and that will help me to facilitate going through those, calling on you for your questions after the presentation. And with that, we can go ahead and get started.
Cool. Eric, can you give me sharing abilities, co-host abilities, please? Awesome, thank you. Okay, sharing. Let's see. Folks can see this giant tea plant? Okay, awesome. So we are excited to have everybody together. I think that was the loudest message that we heard during our last convenings, was that we really, you folks really wanted to be brought together so that we could have some good and thoughtful discussion. And so we're excited to be able to do that via Zoom. So we're gonna start with this slide. We wanted to share with you folks a picture of what our action committees look like going into 2021. So this is a snapshot of what our action committees will look like as of January 1st, 2021. And I know this is a lot to look at, and we will be sending out the slide deck to you folks later. So I know some folks on their phones might be having a hard time seeing this too. And the text is a little small, so I'll just say that the green portions represent seats that are filled So folks who are still going through their terms. The blue represents our AC members who have been holding over past the terms of their original appointment. And then the gold represents our vacant seats. And so I would just put it out there that if you know someone who is interested in applying for a seat on the action committee, please refer them to us. So while we're looking at this, and we've been trying to understand what this means for our action committees. And so given the status of our ACs going into 2021, we've strategized ways to continue working with all of our ACs, including those that won't be able to meet quorum immediately. So for example, increased engagement with community volunteers and groups that are doing work relative to CDP implementation, increased opportunities for action committees to collaborate between regions to capitalize on networks, community-led actions and learning opportunities. And so there is also a need for increased communication on all fronts. I think this is another message that we hear continuously from folks. And so whether it's county communicating to AC or the community or the other way around, any way you think about it, we just need more communication. And so we're trying to include that in our strategies moving forward. And so we are excited to preview and introduce the following virtual communication and educational series that will be launched in 2021. So the Community County Co-Learning Series, or what we fondly call C2CLS, or just CLS. It focuses on improving the interface between community and its local government. So specifically around community development in our area. So this is something that we hope will happen biannually. And in general, the tool should supplement communications from CDP Action Committee meetings and provide a larger platform for action committees to share district CDP progress updates with the whole island. It'll also create a platform for community members and organizations to showcase the community development work they are advancing in and out of, or the community work that they are advancing it in and out of tandem with action committees. So we know that sometimes this work happens together and then other times independently. And be able to share lessons learned and best practices. It'll also support community and county partnerships with access to critical information and data, connections to technical experts and resource partners, learning opportunities, again, around best practices, and applications and network building opportunities to advance district level and island-wide resilience. It'll also provide a venue to interface around updates from long-range planning initiatives and bring other county and state agencies as appropriate into the initiatives being worked on. And then also touching on capacity building and other topic-focused training workshops. So the idea is that this CLS will work in tandem with a new website communication strategy that will include more regular postings, updates, and information exchanges in between AC meetings and CLS events throughout the year so that we can ensure continuous CDP implementation. And so how can the ACs get involved with this or benefit from this? And so what we're hoping is that you folks will craft creative ways to showcase and communicate the projects that you are working on by way of virtual tours, presentations, short stories, really any creative ways that you can think of to showcase the work that you folks have been doing. And you can request interface with certain local or national experts or agency representatives. Submit training and workshop requests, and then of course you can help by spreading awareness. And so I know we went through this very quickly, but we'll have a chance to talk story about it more once the presentation is done. And so now I'm gonna turn it over to Camuela to talk kind of about our schedule for 2021.
Thanks, Kiko, and aloha, everybody.
for attending. So the next agenda item is just going over what the cadence of meetings will look like, and our proposed approach to this year. So again, we're looking at having at a minimal quarterly meetings. So if you look at this chart over here, starting from the first quarter, and it's going clockwise, but with the first quarter, possible priorities for that meeting would be to elect chair, vice chair. If I don't think, yeah, that's an annual thing. We also want to develop a roadmap for priorities, especially making GP one of those priorities. It's also a good time for county staff to provide information or updates to pertinent initiatives going on in your area, and also communicate maybe things that are synced up island-wide. And then, as you can see, those CLS meetings, so subsequent meetings will continue to have GP updates and workshops. We're focusing on trying to build capacity on both sides of the spectrum, meaning on the staff side and on community side, with a special focus on looking at what types of projects can ACs engage in at a community level, especially concerning networking with organizations within your communities. Continuing on around that illustration we have. So as you can see, in between after the second quarter, we could have one of those CLS meetings. And just remember, in general, we're thinking about these CLS meetings as information sharing, sharing education, or raising awareness on certain topics. And we really see it as a collaborative problem-solving venue for us to engage in. Then we'll go through our third and fourth quarter, do another CLS meeting, and that should take us towards the end of the year. Another thing that we're looking to do is incorporate quarterly updates. Quarterly communications. So these are communications coming from from us, the planning staff, to make sure that we're remaining engaged and sending updates, just as another form of back and forth communication with you folks. Okay, that's it for me.
So I'd open it up to questions you guys have. I didn't see anybody put their names in the chat, so I don't have anybody to call on first. So I'll try to use my screen to observe you guys and see who I can call on. Does anybody have any questions regarding kind of what we're looking forward to in 2021 or the status of our action committee membership?
Bethany, we have a question from Julia in the chat regarding the status of the terms.
Perfect, thank you. So Julia asks, during the hiatus, sorry, I can't say that word. Hiatus, it's the other way around. What happens to our term? Hiatus, thank you. Keiko, you want to answer that question?
Sure. You're talking about a term that is either someone is holdover for, Janice?
This was Julia.
Julia, sorry.
The absence of meeting.
Oh, I see. We had a similar question from Hamakua last night. And so we're gonna try to find an answer to that. And so we'll get back to you. I know it's probably not what you want to hear right now, but we have it on our list even from last night. And so we'll get back to you as soon as we can figure that out.
Okay, another question. Will quarterly action committee meetings be scheduled on specific days, specific weeks?
So this is something, post this meeting, we're going to be following up with a questionnaire. There are some things that we need feedback on. And certainly this is one of them. I think our action committees have all met during different times and days over the years. And so given that we have this opportunity to now meet virtually, how does this change what our practices might have been previously? And so that will be a question that will be put out to the action committees individually. And certainly we're also looking for input from our council members as well, because we want to make sure that we're not, say, meeting on a council day so that they won't be able to make it, or just they might have ideas of when it's easiest for folks to tune in, keeping in mind that we do want to encourage folks from our community to be able to attend.
Thanks, Keiko. I just want to acknowledge, I believe Council Member Tim Richards has joined our meeting, as well as a couple of other folks. I think Franz Weber is with us, and he wasn't there for the roll call, so just want to note that for the record. And also Pomai from the mayor's office has joined us. It looks like Ashley Kirkowitz has a question. Ashley, go ahead.
Hi, thanks Bethany, and thanks to the planning team for putting this some informational Zoom together.
Ashley, your audio is really breaking up.
My
Maybe
action committees, and I saw here for folks. Sorry, driving in Pune.
Okay.
That's what happens when we don't have broadband connectivity. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. Just wondering what kind of thought has been given around connecting action committees with actual budgets to implement CDPs.
I can try and address that one. That is something that the previous administration was looking at doing as part of our capital improvement budget. We'll have to work with this current administration to see if that's something that is available. I know budget conversations are going to be pretty tough this year, so I'm not sure what might be there. But I think part of the issue is really that capacity building. And so we do have additional resources to bring in training opportunities and helping to organize community groups too. We do have a contract in place to help with some of that work. So maybe that can help in lieu of specific budgets for our action committees. But otherwise, Ashley, we leave that to you and your budget decision-making power. Another question, this one's coming from Kari. With quarterly meetings, does that mean that any items that require a vote will take 3 meetings?
My answer would be, it's possible, but I'm hoping that we can work around that. And so it would be dependent on the specific item that is needing to be voted on, or a decision that's a specific decision that was being made. I don't know. Kamu, do you have additional thoughts?
You know, yeah, Keiko is correct in the sense that it depends on what type of agenda item is being voted on. But I know for sure when we deal with subcommittees and they bringing something back to the main AC, that those types of votes, especially if it's a presentation of a report, that will take at a minimum three meetings, because again, the first meeting is them bringing the report back. The second is the discussion, and then the final is to accept or not accept the report. So I think there's other situations where it may not take 3 meetings, but just remember for sure, subcommittee type of submittals and approvals will take at least 3 meetings. Is that right, Bethany?
Yes, I would see it around the subcommittee. That's kind of the worst case scenario where they got to form a subcommittee at one meeting, hear from it a second, and then make a decision at the third. So yeah, that is accurate. Question from Crystal Kua: how will quarterly sessions and twice a year CLS agendas be determined?
Sure. So agendas will be determined in the same sort of fashion that they have been previous, in that action committee members can provide their suggestions, and then the chair works with the planners to solidify the agenda. And the CLS will be in that same fashion of, we're going to be depending on you folks. So because what we want to do is be able to share out the work that you're doing. And so it would be open to all of you to submit work, and we can help as far as trying to figure out the different modes of translating that message.
Thanks, Keiko. Kari, I think probably was just a follow-up. She noted 3 meetings in 9 months. So probably just in recognition of if they do some subcommittee work, it might take a long time before they can make that decision making. This is from Shelley from Councilmember Leloy's office. Will there be an opportunity to build a relationship between the general plan and the CIP budget requests? I can answer that question, Shelley. The action committees, one of their roles is to provide input on the budget. And so we will be working with the action committees to allow them to do that. As far as the general plan goes, we still are working with the current general plan from 2005, and the CIP projects that are part of that plan have been provided to the administration so that they can use that in making their budget. Going forward, as we finish our recommended draft of the general plan, the budget implications in the implementation section, we're being very straightforward about being able to prioritize and phase our implementation, which will help with those budget questions that come up. So kind of a 2-part answer to that, Shelley. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Question coming from Ruth Smith. Given the testimony submitted today, are there plans for the HELO CDP? I can also address that one, Ruth. You know, this has been a request. It was on the budget. We still need to find actual funding to support that. But it is something that, you know, this administration will need to consider as far as staff and budget capacity in order to push that forward. And from Julia, when will the quarterly meetings begin and voting to have chair, vice chair to know who to work with for the agenda?
So I think what we're looking at, since we're already in December, is that our first quarter meetings would be sometime during February, March, to give us time to plan for that. And I would think, Kamu, you can correct me, that whomever is sitting as your chair currently would continue to do so until the vote happens for a new chair and vice chair.
Yeah, that's correct for for us. Yeah.
Thanks, team. This is from Janice from Kona CDP experience. It seems like communication and understanding regarding CDP priorities between planning and other departments has been a challenge. So just, I think communication has been a factor that multiple CDP folks have brought up. And so we're hoping that that CLS tool can provide that communication gap that's been happening. And so second part, what will the power of the subcommittees be? Will they do their work and report to ACs who will discuss and vote on recommendations?
I would say, if you have subcommittees already established, or if you're establishing new ones, it would be in the same fashion that it has been. So no change in how they work or the way that the action committees consider the work that's been done.
We still have to follow sunshine law. And so that subcommittee work it's pretty prescripted about how we have to do that process through sunshine law. And Rebecca, council member Vegas, you have a question, go ahead.
Please, thank you so much for including me in this meeting. Learning on a steep curve on this. I see that we have the CDP action committees, but I'm wondering, in a recent meeting with the outgoing administration, one of the things that came up in the conversation was an open space action committee. And I wondered if there's somewhere that has, is there a broader list of action committees besides just our CDP action committees, or how are those organized and structured?
I'm not quite sure. What I'm thinking is happening is I know Roy Takimoto from the Kim's office, Mayor Kim's office, was trying to help move forward the Kona Open Space Plan, which is work that the Kona CDP Action Committee, they had a subcommittee and they had done that work to kind of prepare that. And so that's not really an action committee, that just requires us to procure a contractor to do that planning work. And it would be done with the action committee as a kind of an advisory group to that process.
Okay, can you tell me where that is now and how we get that rolling again?
It's really a function of staff capacity. So we'd have to work with the current administration to find someone that can manage that project. We just don't have enough planners to manage the projects that we have on the books. So it's just a matter of capacity.
Are we going out to bid though? Isn't that a contract work?
It will be a contract work. And so just our professional services process requires that we go through a ranking process to find a consultant and then enter negotiations and start that contract. So just that work alone, we just don't have the staff to pull that off. And so with the previous administration, there was hope that the mayor's office was going to help to provide that capacity. And they also just ran into, other priorities that came up. So so that's a question for this administration is if they're going to prioritize that and assign a staff member to that.
Okay, and that's called, can you say that again?
That's the Kona Open Space Plan.
The Kona Open Space Plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there somebody in planning that would be the best point of contact to follow up with on this?
It would probably either be our director or our long range planning program manager, April Supernat.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Let's see, where were we? Janice, what are the main differences between the new paradigm and past? And then you have a comment about open space. Let's have that comment. So since that's just relevant here.
Hi, can you hear me? I think I'm unmuted. Okay. Yeah, so if I heard that right, I'm feeling like there isn't going to be a priority to create the open space network plan. And is that what I heard? That there isn't staff to do that?
I was acting manager for long range, and I can tell you that we don't have a staff member that can do that right now, but it's up to our director and planning program manager to find somebody to do that. I really can't speak to that otherwise.
So what, as if I've never said this 1,000 times before, but without the open space network plan, we really can't have the KCDP. So I just wonder, I mean, there hasn't been a lot of talk about the CDPs in the regular community, I don't think, for a while, but people who like to consider the Kona CDP a moratorium in effect I think part of that reason is because we haven't been able to get the main components enacted. And it's the same thing I've just been saying, but I'm saying it for the benefit of everyone else here, is that without these components, we can't move forward with development in the way that the community wanted development to be done. So I just am curious how I'm not a big development proponent, as you know, so that's not really a problem for me. But at the same time, the idea was the CDP was to help make things fair and level the playing field. That was why we all got involved from all different angles and, different stakeholders. So I guess, is that going to be one of the first things we're going to hear about? Because, I mean, are you like, I'm feeling like what I'm hearing overall is that, okay, kids, we've raised you, and now you're going to go off and do the things we taught you to do. And that really concerns me, because I just don't know how much volunteers that aren't planners can go off into the community and do and be effective. Everybody wants, a lot of people don't mind volunteering, but they want to know that what they're doing is going to create something that actually happens, So I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen to the CDP action committees and the CDPs in general. I'm gathering it's budgetary. I also am a little concerned. I don't know where the mayor is at with CDPs, but I know that because the Kona CDP is an ordinance, that development can't really move forward without the components of it being, in place and acted on. So. Are we at square one? Two? I don't know. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for those comments, Janice. And that gives a good perspective about, that Kona open space plan that has been a priority for the committee for a long time. And it's one of those places that we just seem to get stuck at. And I don't have any decision-making power to really change that, other than to advocate for that project and try and help that move along. So we'll do that. Obviously, we'll communicate once again that priority to our administrator. Other question. Oh, Janice, your first question was, what are the main differences between the new paradigm and the past? Can you elaborate on that question a little bit?
I think I did sort of allude to it when I said, are you sending us off? The kids are, old enough to go out and work, because that's what I want to know. Is it really, what support are the action committees going to have? What function do they have that they didn't have before? What function are you guys going to have that you didn't have, or aren't going to have that you did have? Those are I think I hear all this information, but I keep getting down to just a couple of points. It's like, well, guys, we just don't have the momentum, money, and manpower to be able to, keep doing what we've been doing. That's what I'm hearing. And I think, like, if there were just points that said, this is how it was, this is how it's going to be, that would be helpful to me anyway. So I know what our role is and, what we can do. Thanks for asking.
Keiko, can you help answer some of those questions that we've been discussing?
Sure. And so I think we're also struggling with this, Janice, in that we know that capacity issues are hard and they're frustrating. I think on the action committee side, it's frustrating. On our side, it's frustrating. And so we're trying to figure out how we can best navigate through these times. And so trying to strategize on how we better use our networks and how we can better connect with folks who we know are doing work that implements our CDPs, but we're just not connected with them. And so trying harder to make those connections and use our networks to in the best ways that we can. I also think it's a huge testament that we have so many council members on this call because they're also invested in it. And so we're trying to make this connection between the work that they do and the work that we do and the work that our action committees are trying to do. And so it feels frustrating maybe for the moment, but I'm hoping that as we get into 2021 and we actually start doing this work and meeting and talking and trying to prioritize our action committee work, that it'll start to turn a new leaf. So I know that sounds very airy-fairy and hopeful, but I'm gonna stick in that space because I really feel like we are in this time of change. And so it's a little, and we're not really changing because what the action committee's role is bound by code. And so we're not changing any of your roles. We're not taking anything away or giving anything extra. It's more just trying to figure out the best ways to work together so that we are the most successful at implementation.
Thank you, Keiko. I'll get back to you, Janice. There's a couple other people that are in the queue here. Uncle Charlie asked if the monies are still available to contract the open space work. And I think I did address that the budget is there. It's just a matter of going through the process to find a contractor and beginning a contract with that individual. So yeah, that monies is still available to us for that work. This is coming. Oh, I think this is from Yumi. I think your name, Yumi, comes up as Leonard's iPad, but I recognize your face. So Yumi's asking, 2 people applied for the Puna CDP Action Committee, but these were not processed. So we can make a full 9-member committee. For Hawaiians, Emily Naole and Tarsha Makuakane, they applied in March.
So I'll just quickly say, our new administration is completely overwhelmed, as you can imagine, as they're moving into their new positions and getting aligned with their work. And so we are in communication. You can see that Pomai is on this call today. And so we are working together with the mayor's office to figure out our AC applicants and trying to see maybe where these applications left off. So we just need a little bit of time to work through that.
Were you able to find those applications, Keiko?
I'm gonna work with Pomai on that because we haven't. Yeah, I'll work with Pomai on that.
Because one of them was lost last we checked, Tarsha Makuakane.
Okay.
So it's important if we want to make full AC committees. So
yeah.
Thanks,
Yumi. Thank you.
Thank you, Yumi. This is coming from Shirley David. When will we meet the new planning director? Thank you, Shirley. You know, I think he's only been with us for a week. And so we did invite him, and he's more than likely watching the YouTube live stream so that he can understand what's going on in the conversation that's transpiring. I would hope that the next meeting he would be able to, if he cannot attend, at least provide a message to you folks. And so we'll be working with him to address that. Okay. Janice, do you still have comment to add? Okay. This is coming from Tonkini. What is the reason understood by planning that there are such a large number of unfilled seats?
So I'll go first and then I'll just open it up to Kamu or Bethany if you guys want to add. I think part of the reason is that our action committees have not been as, I mean, we took a hiatus, right? And we didn't meet in 2019 when we were doing GP outreach. But even previous to that, a lot of times folks are just moving in their communities and doing work, and there's not always a thought of what the action committee is up to, what their role is. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to do, is increase awareness around the CDPs, but also the action committees, so that folks kind of understand what that role is as a action committee member. I don't know, Kamal, Bethany, you guys want to add to that?
I think just in general, anytime you have voluntary boards, it goes through this of, you know, community members who are active in their community can only spread themselves so thin on serving on different boards and different capacities. And so I think just in general, some of our communities are fairly small. And so we've kind of gone through a cycle of people who had time and space to serve. And so it's about bringing in new folks who have new time and space and energy. And I think also the outreach component is always a factor. You know, I can't remember what the number is, but it's quite staggering how many boards and commissions we have as a county, and how many community members are required to serve on those boards when you look at the numbers. And so, so part of it, I think, is just communication of like what Keiko was saying, of like, this is what the action committee does, and this is the role that they play, so that people can have an understanding of how that's different than maybe the planning commission, and if they want to serve on that commission, for example. So I think it's a combination of just you kind of cycle through those who have the space and availability to do it. And also, we're not constantly out there with a message of what this body is doing and what their role is, so that new people can be learning of it and understanding the opportunity. Kamu, anything else to add on that?
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is coming from Bill. Seems each AC needs to tighten up their top 3 doable topics in coordination with their council members, so there may be at least a focus, safe process. Bill, you want to elaborate any on that comment, or give an example maybe?
Yeah, can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think that in order to spark the continuation of people being interested in serving on the body and volunteering, it's got to be topic based. It's got to, you want to find more people that are interested in something. Like in Waimea, it's the circulation. So if there's a topic, and in concert with the feedback that you're getting from your council members, because the council members are going to know exactly what these are, it might give us at least an idea within the existing people, as well as going out and getting more people to be in the process, knowing that it's going to take forever before there's going to be anything that's going to officially come. Let's just get the focus.
That's a great comment, Bill, and I totally agree with you that you know, we got to spend our energy wisely and efficiently, and so the more that we can work together to address particular issues, rather than, again, kind of spreading ourselves thin, we can actually make some progress. So thank you for that comment, Bill. Janice, you have something you'd like to add? You're on mute, Janice. Sorry.
Here I am. Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that in Kona, because our CDP has been, in place for a long time, that when you try to get people to join and they don't see what's been accomplished, it's also harder to get them to join. So I agreed with the focusing on certain topics. And I also think that that's part of it. I know a lot of good people who would be interested if they felt like it was, moving forward, but a lot of people just have to see something more happen.
Thank you for that comment, Janice.
Bethany, can I just real quick to your point of how many boards and commissions that we have within our county? I'm getting a text. We have currently 147 vacancies on our boards and commissions. So this is not something that is unique to our action committees only. So just wanting to share that from a broader umbrella and perspective as well.
Thank you, Keiko. Yeah, I knew it was quite a big number. Let's see, we have Julia. I kind of feel the past 18 months have been somewhat a disservice of our respective communities at large. Julia, I'm gonna let you, if you can, speak to that more directly. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just making the comment because I serve on several committees, and I just feel like if we were actively engaged with the CDP, I would have more traction on some of those fronts. And we, like the circulation in Waimea, we've got the issues on Waikolo Road. I know I'm working with Tim Richards on a lot of things, but I just feel we're kind of slighting the communities. That's all, just a comment.
Thank you for that, Julia. Brad Kirikawa, you have something to say. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, just in response. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks again for this the convening, and then also nice to see a lot of familiar faces. I wanted to sort of, in terms of Janice's comment and the open space. I mean, having sort of been involved at the CDP from the other end early on, that's a pretty fundamental. It's part of the scenario of the development pattern, and it seems like we can't continue to I realize the lack of capacity and funding and all that kind of stuff, but this is really kind of fundamental, and I don't think it's just relative to the Kona CDP. I mean, it's a whole question of shifting the paradigm in terms of framework of land use management. And I don't think we have the luxury of putting it off because it's an island-wide situation, and we either need to get the capacity or develop it in-house. And and I think it's sort of a, in terms of prioritizing, it's these big moves, the big changes that, that have been generated out of the CDP process. And I think, I'm hoping that this forum can actually help the county government and powers to be, and including all the elected officials, which I'm glad to see so many of participating in that, by recognizing that these challenges are island-wide, and we need to support each other so that the whatever it is that is missing, that is not allowing these types of things to occur, can occur, because to me that's like, yeah, I mean, we're into like the implementation phase, and these key things cannot happen without these changes, and that occurs at the GP level, and it occurs at the zoning level. I mean, we need to get all those tools like the TDRs and all those types of things so that the development can occur in the right places where, so that the open space is maintained. And until that happens, nothing's going to change. And so I guess I want to support that effort because it's needed everywhere. I mean, if we're going to get the smart growth patterns that we've been talking about, that needs to happen. And we need to put the incentives and the disincentives so that we can maintain that quality of life that I know is common to all of the CDPs. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. And just along that same vein, right? We're working on our recommended draft for the general plan to get at that island-wide issue that you're speaking of. And one of the things that we found really fundamental when looking at our land use, it was to start with our natural resource component, which is part of that open space network answer as well. And so I'm hoping that some of the products that we're putting together for the general plan kind of kickstart us in that direction of being able to have that GIS analysis of our kind of our natural lands and our natural resources, as well as our urban lands, right? So I look forward to rolling those things out and getting your folks' input. Hopefully it's helping to kind of move that ball forward that you're speaking of, Brad. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so Bethany, just, especially like with, all the council members present, I mean, all the more, they can support each other to support, the initiatives or the budgeting, the funding that's needed to, either capacity build and get these, key strategies in place so that, it's just not about Kona. It's really about the rest of the island so that we can have those tools available to us. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. Karen Anderson, do you still have a comment to make?
I do. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen, and I actually live in Puako. And I want to get back to that question that someone raised about how can these committees be more relevant or whatever. And I'll just give you an example. As a community member, and I'm new to this group, but as a community member, what I'm most interested in is great planning, but also getting things done. And I think that's what a lot of community members, so when I go to our annual or semi-annual meetings, the people in my community say, so what's happening? What's going on? And like, for instance, in Puako, we're working on a wastewater system. Last year, the state awarded us, the county, $1.5 million to actually put in place a study to actually begin the project. And the money is still sitting in the state. And it hasn't been transferred to the county. It hasn't been requested by the county. I don't know who's supposed to request it. I've asked the mayor's office. I've asked Tim Richards. We've asked David Tarnas. And so then my community members say, well, Karen, what about that whole CDP thing you sit on? Shouldn't they be able to help? And I guess that's just an example of how these groups are really great in their planning, but how can we actually make them feel very supportive of the projects when it's time to get boots on the ground? And if anyone has an answer to my question, I would love to hear that. In general, but anyway, that's kind of my input on, the relevancy and getting more people involved.
Keiko, did you have anything to add to address that?
Not to address it necessarily, but just to thank you for your comment. And I don't necessarily know the answer to your question, but these are the kinds of things that we would hope our action committee members would just shoot us an email and be like, I'm stuck, I need help. How do we figure this out? And then we can try to network in and out of our own silos and try to see how we can get you some answers for that. So.
Keiko, can I respond to that?
Sure. Please.
I think I'd mentioned at our meeting yesterday, but in response to Karen, how can we utilize, like say, for example, this group. We have a situation in Hamakua that has to do with bridge closures, and which really becomes a challenging situation for property owners in terms of life safety and health. And it involves not just the county departments, but it involves the state and potentially the federal thing. So like one of the things that it seems like the power of this group would be to galvanize each other to support, like for example, your effort for the wastewater treatment system, which involves the state, the various divisions in terms of waste and water and then DLNR and all of those types of things. And so it was discussed that this group can help convene or apply pressure, from the community grassroots side to those various agencies and elected officials, be it the state legislature, as well as, with the various council members, not just your district, but the whole council say, hey, we need to address it. It's relevant to all of, it's an island-wide issue too, because, we're gonna be shutting down, the EPA is requiring, all the gang cesspools. And so it's not like it's just Puako. Puako is a especially keen sensitive area because of the coastal alkaline ponds, but it's still something that's relevant to the whole island. And we need to bring the EPA and the state wastewater and Department of Health to the table and say, hey, let's get going and let's move on it. And I think that's the power of, not just your district advocating and making phone calls, and then we can ask the rest of the island, the grassroots level, to help in those efforts to shake the tree, because we want stuff done. We want them accountable, right? And so anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Bethany, can I weigh in on this?
Of course. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I can address the Puako thing. The money was appropriated by the state. That is true. An RFP was actually put out. And of course, then we hit the whole COVID thing. And that is so overused as an excuse. But the reality is that did put the brakes on a lot of things. And so we are waiting on that as far as going forward. There's a bigger conversation than just Puako. And Brad, you are right concerning that. The problem is it comes down to the finances. And I don't think that this is exactly what this call is on, but for this county, we have approximately 15% of our county on wastewater treatment, which is the big challenge for us going forward. Best estimate, as I understand, we're probably looking at, approaching maybe $1 billion to completely sewer our island. And so that is the challenge. It's not that people aren't doing things. In fact, we're doing quite a lot of things. The point is what we are doing is trying to get there and still keep in mind that we have the financial side to attend to. So CDP, this is a great forum to have input from the group. But like I said, if we want to talk wastewater, we sure can, but I don't think that's what you want to talk on this. The CDP is the structure for it. So anyway, I had to weigh in just because we are not sitting around doing nothing. We're actually doing quite a bit right now. The challenge is to get the thing done. So that's what we're waiting with. And I can answer this later. And Brad, if you want to give me a call, we can talk story about this.
Okay.
Thanks, Bethany.
Bethany,
Awesome.
I don't have to raise my
Thank you,
hand.
Tim. Ruth, if you can just give me 1 second, I'm trying to go in order here. So Susie actually was next with a comment.
Okay. Aloha mai kako, o Susie Osborne ko uinoa, sitting on the Puna CDP. I'm also really encouraged today to see so many of our elected officials joining us. I think that's super important in order to support our movement forward. And I really want to encourage that those 2 large convenings a year that are planned, that if we can have our council members join us, just so we can make sure we streamline this, the CDPs with the general plan, with the SEDS, with, all the things that need to happen. And then, so that's one thing. And then I just have a small kind suggestion, and I've forgotten what it's called, but, and this is addressing engagement of the community and also potentially streamlining those 147 vacancies and boards. I remember, and I've forgotten what it's called, but there's a county mandate for some sort of sustainability committee. And I brought this up in testimony before to our council members. And I'm sorry, because I can't remember, exactly what that is, but I know there's a lot of passion on our island for sustainability initiatives. And I really feel like that our CDPs are a really good place to house that that mandate. There could be subcommittees on sustainability where you would potentially, that would be a draw for communities that have that sort of passion and would also fulfill the county mandate. And I know that there's a lot of life force in all of our plans, including the general plan, and especially now with COVID, our consciousness and mindset has finally, I think, transforming in that balanced approach for planning and sustainability and supporting our thriving nation. So I just wanted to re-plug that again to, which I think might tackle numerous things on our behalf. And I thank all of you for your service to our communities. I love being on the CDP. I know I'm a way long holdover, but thanks for having me. Mahalo.
Awesome, Susie, thank you. Yes, there is a sustainability committee that is in our county code, I believe. And it's under the research and development department, but hasn't been staffed, right? So maybe that's another way of trying to take a cut at that, and we can work on some
Give it to us. Give it to us.
All right, Susie, careful what you ask for. Let's see. I think Kari, you had, I agree with Bill's comment. Sorry, it's going back a little bit. For Kona Open Space Network, it has been an important component of the CDP. This is something that we've been working on for over 3 years. If we need to educate the new administration, then that is what some of us will do. Of course, I welcome you folks to be engaged with the new administration and share any mana'o that you have to share with them, because that's how we all make better decisions and make for a better county. So I welcome that, of course. Kari, did you want to address that more specifically?
Yeah, well, I think, it was news to me when you said that it's essentially on not even the back burner, right out the door at this point. So I am concerned, like I think the rest of us who worked on the Kona Open Space Network plan, and we're hoping to get that moving. So I'm a massive holdover, and part of it was trying to get this Open Space Network plan moving before I quit. So anyway, that's just to let you know, in terms of the timing, that's, those who are new to the whole process, you're in it for the long haul, because it's a long haul kind of thing. So that's all I have to share right now.
Thank you, Kari. I'm sorry if I misspoke. I don't mean to say that it's not on the back burner or not on any burner. I just know that we don't have any staff currently assigned to manage that project. So that's all I was communicating. Let's see. Crystal Kua, you still have a comment? Sorry, it's taken us a little bit to get through these, but we're making it.
I do have a comment. It's probably not the same comment that I had when I first put it up in the chat, because it was kind of nice to hear from, folks like Brad, right? He had a little bit more optimistic view on the process than I was having during the conversation. But I think for me, being new to the process, listening to the conversation, it was a little bit disheartening. I mean, in terms of, I was excited to serve, right? I really wanted to be part of this process. And then you listen with what's going on in Kona, where they're trying to get their open space plan forward, and the capacity issues and the budget issues, and the and then my question yesterday about in our meeting last night, not knowing where the current administration stands with the general plan, I guess for me, I would hope maybe some of the other, action committee members, maybe if somebody can tell me, I'm kind of maybe, and this is only like my second meeting, right? I'm a little bit frustrated at trying to figure out what our role is, because it is not clear to me based on some of the reasons given for why some of the things may not be moving forward. So anyway, I'm just hoping somebody, I mean, I think Brad did I think when Brad spoke, right, and he talked about the strength of the island-wide network. Yes, that's something I can totally buy into, especially if there's issues that affect the island as a whole, right? And being a Hawaii Island, resident all my life, right? I mean, I think if we can do that, maybe that's my hope I'm looking for. But like I said, yeah, it's a little disheartening listening to all the comments around the island about what we're doing, what we're not doing, and some of the challenges going forward. So.
Thank you, Crystal. I think, just to give everybody a little bit of perspective too, planning staff are also frustrated with not being able to move implementation forward. And I think that's just part of these lessons learned that we've had since, the first plans were adopted in 2008. And we kind of set ourselves out on this adventure to do community planning work. And I think it's obvious that we can get the plans done, right? We can get input, we can understand community's vision and values, and make a good plan to address those vision and values. But where we fall short is on implementation. And so we're all part of community as well. And so, it's also frustrating for staff to try and push forward and try and keep motivated and keep working, with these action committees. I don't want to be too emotional, but it's just, I think it's part of this process. We were kind of in our infant stage of community planning, and we've learned a lot through that stage of what works and what doesn't work. And so we're trying to bring all those lessons learned into this next work that we're doing with the general plan and the planning program, so that we set ourselves up for more success rather than frustration amongst the community members and the staff, right? So I just want to put that out there, that we're with you. We're in this boat with you. Let's see. Jeff Coakley, we haven't heard from you for a while. I'm sorry. There are various groups that have, do you want to, you can just go ahead with your comment, or I can read it either way.
Yeah, they can read it. Yeah, this is my first meeting, and I didn't know you guys had meetings. I guess I missed the emails previously, but my vice chair called me up one day and says, "Hey, Jeff, how come you weren't at the meeting?" I said, "What meeting? I don't know about any meetings." But, it is what it is. And yeah, like I said, it was probably on my email and I missed it. But I really don't have a real good grasp of what the purpose of this meeting is. I think it's like Crystal, I'm in the same boat, but I'm slowly I'm getting it. But the thing is, the CDP may not be functional in our community, but the various, the issues, the concerns, they continue. And the groups of people that deal with it, they continue as well, even though we don't meet and get reports. But I try to touch base with all of them and get involved. But, the basic thing is, whether we have a CDP or not, we have these local leaders that take on the challenge to address these issues. And I just see my role as being a resource to them and helping them as much as I can with what I have available, and others as whatever skills or talents we can share with them. But, Brad brought up something really interesting. He talked about bridge closures. He talked about safety. And I think I can identify with that in Kohala. We had bridges that have been damaged, where people have been isolated in their community up to almost 12 hours, can't get home, can't get out, concern for children at home. The parents are stuck at home, they can't get out to their kids at school, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, we, for 20 years, they dealt with trying to find a government solution to it without any, result. And so, Brad, finally, what we did was I just went to each landowner and I said, hey, can we use the private road that you guys have to go in and out? Because, when our bridge is out, we can't get it in and out. And they said, yeah, okay, whatever we can to help the community. So, we should have done that 20 years ago. But anyway, my only comment is that my understanding is that we'll have these meetings to coordinate all the CDPs at at a certain every quarter or something. Is that how it works?
So real quick, yeah, and I think the idea is that our action committees would meet individually quarterly. So it's not that we're bringing folks all together in this venue, because folks do have specific business in their CDP planning areas to meet about. And so those would be quarterly, and then we would do this larger CLS event, which wouldn't necessarily be an action committee meeting, but it would definitely include all of you. And so in cases like North Kohala, Jeff, our strategy is going to be to work directly with action committee members and community groups who are doing work already.
Okay.
And just to follow up on kind of what this meeting is all about, if we're getting into, maybe off topic or whatever, but really, the agenda reads that we would provide a status of the memberships, that we would talk about our meeting schedule for 2021, and then provide you a framework of this communication tool that we're looking to bring to you. So, I mean, that's what we're doing, but also this is the first time having this island-wide convening where you folks can hear from one another. And so I think that is a really valuable objective of this meeting as well. And I can already see you folks sharing, here's what we did, like you did, Jeff, right? Brad, here's what we did to address the bridge issue. So that is exactly the intent of being able to bring everybody together, is just to build that capacity a little bit. So thank you for sharing that, Jeff. Let's see, Councilmember Leroy.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say thanks for having me. I realized that there's over a quorum of us of the council on here, which would make us in violation. So I'm gonna be jumping off of the meeting, but thank you folks so much for this opportunity to learn more, and I'll try and just watch it on YouTube so I'm not in the meeting. And I hope one of our other council members will be jumping off as well. So mahalo you folks.
Thank you. Aloha, Haleka.
Thanks, Haleka.
And this is Councilmember Kimball. I'll jump off too, as I have another meeting starting shortly. So thank you for this, guys. It's great.
Aloha, Heather. Thank you. Let's see, Councilmember Leroy.
Yeah, and I hope everyone can hear me. I'm hoping that Councilmember Inaba and Councilmember Kimball is not going to jump off, honestly, because I think we can be covered by a memo to say, hey, we were listening to community. But I do want to walk back to some of the comments by Councilmember Richards and some of the other comments about how CDP members kind of serve community. I think at the end of the day, we need the valuable input that they are providing. I know it's challenging, and I think this is a prime time for us to pivot and use technology, use Zoom, whatever it means to kind of engage community. I know it's challenging for our many of us in our rural communities because bandwidth may not be there, but I still think this is a valuable tool to hear community voices and elevate what community needs. The challenge becomes resources, right? And implementing all of what the community needs with what government has by resources. But if community can leverage government to find other resources, I think that's the critical path to achieving so many things that are in our community development plans or just what community wants to see. I'm gonna leave it there because every community is vibrant and resourceful. You know, Tim has a community with agriculture. I have a community with business connections. Ashley might have a community that has resiliency. And I think we can learn many, many lessons that we can implement across our island that will be productive for everyone involved. And I want to thank Bethany and Keiko for just continuing to hold space, whether it's an agitation, whether it's like collaboration, whether it's just like agreement. This is what needs to happen. And the community conversation is valuable and we are listening. You saw two council members want to jump off of this conversation because of sunshine law requirements. I don't think they should. I think they should stay engaged. I think they need to listen because that's how we elevate community. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. Crystal, thank you for your comments to kind of, hey, where are you guys in all of this? I think you guys need to keep engaging.
Mahalo, thank you, Sue. Let's see. Ton, you wanted to comment about Bill 217 and the responsibilities of action committees. Go ahead.
Yes, at our meeting last night in Hamakua, we had, I had brought up the issue of Bill 217, which is coming before the County Council next week. And that is a bill which was passed out of committee that prohibits foot traffic into YPO. A good deal of the Hamakua Community Development Plan actually has reference to YPO. And I had thought that this particular issue would therefore be a something that the community development plan should address, and or that the action committee should address, and address it in two ways. First of all, as a vehicle to try to gauge community impression about this particular bill. Living in Honokaa, I don't hear communication about this bill, which actually to me seems like it's a very deep fundamental issue. And I'm not hearing conversation about it. I think that conversation needs to be stimulated. And then secondly, is it the possibility that the Community Development Plan Action Committee could actually pass a judgment about, from the community's input about the merits of this bill from what we've learned from our interaction with the community? And the response from the planning department was that, well, the director of planning, and I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong about this, but the director of planning was not intending to make comment to the county council regarding this bill. And consequently, since the role of the action committees is advisory to the planning director, therefore, this was not an issue which would be appropriately considered by the action committee. So so at any rate, I'd like to just put that out. I continue to be somewhat unclear about what the responsibilities and the opportunities of the Community Development Plan Action Committees actually are.
Awesome, Ton. Thank you. Yeah, just to add, you know, that we also were working with Council Member Heather Kimball, and she encouraged action committees to feel free to engage with folks in their community and provide testimony to the council. So that's always an option for anybody who wants to be engaged in anything at the county council. Doesn't require you do it through the action committee. Obviously, you can do it on your behalf as well. And let's see, Charles Young, you have a comment to make?
Yeah, thank you, Bethany. First, I want to thank you and all the staff, for convening this that slipped away, and I really appreciate the work it's taken to get this Zoom meeting together. I want to thank the members from at least the Kona AC for being on the line, and specifically recognize Kari and Janice for the work on the Open Space Committee subcommittee, which they put in a lot of work. And I just want to make a comment that when we agendize the first meeting, let's keep that as a high priority. In terms of trying to pick up where we left off, on the first meeting that we can reconvene in 2021. So again, hopefully we don't lose too much of that continuity. But let's see what influence we have among our county planners. Also, just today I received the copy of the governor's 30 by 30 plan. I don't know if some of you are familiar with it, the Marine Resource Management Plan, and I think some of you may have received it as well. These are the kinds of things that give us hope, because I think in it calls out place-based management and some of the things that are important to me personally, which is basically community-based management, resource management, which applies to everything, even infrastructure. For those of us who serve on the committee, I think that's our job. Our job is to try and represent the community and not worry about the processes and things that we have to go through. That's the county's job. That's the people for the county council members, the administration. But I think our job is to raise the issues that are important by the community, even if we don't have solutions for it or unable to solve them for ourselves. And that can be very frustrating at times, because we're doing the representation, but on the other hand, we don't have the final decision-making power. But we do have a lot of influence, and I think council action committee members should take note of that. It's a responsible position. And if we handle it responsible, I think we can move the needle, but the needle's going to move slow, and it's certainly moving a lot slower with COVID. So I'm looking forward to 2021. We've never been there before, so I obviously we're not going to be meeting, but I was just wondering if I could bring food and poo-poos to my meeting on Zoom, so that I don't, I can turn off the video. Anyway, those are my comments, and again, I just want to appreciate all the folks on the call for taking the time.
Mahalo, Vitale, thank you. Ruth, I'm sorry, I it's your turn if you're ready, girl. Do you have any comments or questions to ask?
Yes, thanks. Well, first, I think I'd like to welcome Karen Anderson. I believe she's on the South Kohala Community Development Action Committee, correct? Okay, so I knew she was coming. Welcome, Karen. Good to know that. My request is that we have a list of our current members, their phone numbers, their contacts, and their terms. You know, where they are, because the graph showing, you know, where we are doesn't really tell us, it gives us an overall picture, but it would be great if we actually had the contacts and stuff. There are so many issues that have come up here, and I think it's one of the reasons that it's important to stay in the game when it's really hard to stay in the game. And I'm thinking to the thing that Karen brought up about cesspools in Puaco. Well, Robbie Robertson was on the committee, and he brought this to the our action committee a couple of years ago. And I mean, this was that raw sewage was going into the ocean in Puaco. This was not like this was bad. And so he had come to the action committee asking for support on a solution they'd come up with. At the same time, the money that got referenced earlier got funded, and then they asked us to hold off to see what the study showed. So it's kind of a little example of how complicated this can get. And I wish our chair, Diane, was here, because she has got huge background on water and wastewater. But, you know, when we were discussing it, she said, look, this isn't just happening in Hawaii. And one of the things we need to do better is look at where else are they having these issues, and let's piggyback that. Now, and at some point in time, this has to become a priority. And, you know, maybe we'll do a lot of great things with federal money for infrastructure that might include bridges and roads and all kinds of other things. I don't know, but I know that these problems, particularly the environmental ones, become more and more pressing every day. So my recommendation is be patient. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Let's see, next we had Yumi. So when will individual CDP action committees be meeting again? Monthly would be good, and Zoom, oops, sorry, it just moved down. Zoom makes it so much easier for more community participation.
So we haven't identified specific dates for our next AC meetings, but we are looking at, like I said earlier, because we're already getting into the holiday season. Sorry, I have a mosquito flying around here. Because we are getting into the holiday season, we're probably looking more towards February and March. So mid to latter half of the first quarter would be my guess, but we'll be following up again with that questionnaire. And so it'll be asking action committee members to provide input around days that work best, times that work best. And we're also going to be asking our council members if there are specific times that are a conflict for them, as we want to encourage attendance from them as well. And so just being mindful of the communities that you live in and the folks that you're hoping will be able to tune in. So suggesting timeframes around that.
I wanted to say something real quickly. Right before COVID-19 took off, we were going to get together all the grassroots of Puna District, particularly for FEMA monies. Are you guys, the county was going to serve as a way of bringing grassroots together more so that people can maybe say up here in Volcano, we restore rainforest. So we might have brought all the people who do rainforest restoration together, talk about funding or FEMA monies. Is the county going to be doing anything? Because if we are representing our areas, then I really would like to have the county facilitate in bringing folks together and talk about these issues that we're all concerned about. What do you think?
I think some of our Network mapping will help us to identify these different folks that need to be brought together. And certainly if there are particular issues that we need to hui up about, definitely something that we can think about.
And I just wanted to make sure we addressed that second half of your question, Yumi, about Zoom. And I think, you know, this seems to be a great way to engage and get participation. And so I think this will probably be our mode of operation as we go, you know, farther into 2021 and things start to change with the pandemic. We will have to reassess then, but I can say for that first quarter AC meeting, it will be through the Zoom type platform.
Great, that sounds great. Thank you very much, you guys, for putting this together.
And we had a comment from Crystal. Mahalo for the clarification on the quarterly meetings, Keiko. That's what I was trying to get at with my question earlier. So thank you for that, Crystal, and Keiko for answering that. Janice, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, back ages ago when someone was speaking about she had just been to 2 meetings and not sure exactly where the action committees are at. I think one thing that's really important in the long haul is that the political reality is that the mayor makes a difference on what happens with the action committees and the CDPs. And continuity has not been always, you know, what has happened. I mean, subtle changes can make a big difference. And, you know, I don't think we have a planning director exactly yet. And I think that's going to be, you know, whoever that ends up being, you know, how that person feels about it, how the administration feels about it, and how we interact is going to be super important. So I think it's important. And though I know that the action committee is supposed to go through you guys and then you go to the planning department, or the planning director, but I think that we just have to stay engaged as community members and always make sure that we're lobbying for what we want to see happen, and not just, you know, even just hope that our action committee membership is going to help. It's really, that's part of it, is getting the community activated to just provide them or to the administration, because that can change. Thanks heaps for doing this, you guys.
Thank you, Janice. Thank
Good
you.
meeting.
Let's see, Jeff. Oh, you wanted to also address Bill 217 and impacts to Pololu Valley?
No, I just want to tell Tom Keeney that that's a very we find that very critical for us here in Kohala because of Pololu Valley and how that is going to impact our valley with it. But we've talked to Tim Richards about it. But yeah, that's a discussion that we really needs to take place because we're very, very concerned about it.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Just a note from Julia mentioning that Diane has termed out from the action committee. And so that's one of those notes about getting you folks accurate data, contact information for who is still on your committees and what their terms are. And we will follow up with you folks on that. Tristy had a comment. Mahalo to the planning department for making this happen. Also appreciate all the county councils present for making the time to be present. Need to sign off and we'll keep posted. Aloha nui loa. Take care and happy holidays. We are here to support. Thanks again. Thank you, Tristy, if you're still there. Otherwise, we'll contact you later. Ton, you had a comment on the CDP website email addresses. You want to go ahead and just make your comment?
Well, no, but it's there in print. The CDP website email addresses are present for the CDP members from Hamakua and North Kohala and Puna, but not for South Kohala and Kona. And I was just wondering, is that was that elected by the various CDP action committees, or was that merely oversight?
Do you know the answer to that question?
Yeah, I think
we had a discussion about if we were going to do that, and for us, I don't think we landed. We don't have a problem doing it, but we just got to go back to the staff planning team and have a consistency determination.
Yeah, I think one of the things just in the the life cycle of our CDPs, they used to be managed, the west side was managed by the Kona office and a different manager, and the east side was managed by a long range over in Hilo. And so they were managed a little bit differently. And this is probably just a lingering issue that hasn't been addressed yet when we brought them under one management.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth, aloha and thanks to everyone for their participation. I'm heading into my third Zoom meeting in 10 minutes. Happy holidays to everyone. Aloha, Ruth, thank you for participating, and happy holidays to you as well. And then Councilmember Richards, aloha everyone, thank you for the invitation. I need to step off for another meeting in a few minutes. Jeff, we will catch up on Pololu. Great, thank you, Councilmember Richards. That's all that I have in the chat. So anybody else have any final thoughts? We have about 7 minutes left in our meeting time. Anybody else want to jump in? Janice, did you have comment to say?
No,
Oh, yeah.
I'm good. Sorry.
Kamu?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a few closing comments. So I just want to thank all the AC members for attending. I especially also want to thank the council members in attendance. And just to pull the veil back a little bit, not more than it's already exposed, but there is this issue of communication. So I just thank Sue and Tim, and especially that Sue mentioning the importance of the AC, and to follow that up, part of the issue that we have in the planning side, as we are frustrated with the AC, like the AC members, we have the same frustration of things not being able to move. So part of the veil to pull back is that there's a cap that the staff have in terms of communication. So the only reason why I want to mention this now is because with the council members in attendance, just thank you so much for being here and for hearing, and hopefully we can find a way where the communication that is capped in terms of what staff can do, that we can find conduits in another way. And for instance, we're making quarterly updates, and possibly one of the things we can do is just forward that to the council members of the respective CDP areas. Again, there's not much things that we can do to implement, but sometimes just knowing what the discussion is in one area and what the discussion is in another area sparks ideas for how action can happen. And so I just want to put that out there and thank the council members for attending. Mahalo, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kamu. Any other closing thoughts or comments people want to make?
This is Bill. And I just wanted to let you know the reality check for the whole island is 3/4 of the way through, I thought that there was a new coqui frog outside that I had to chase. And then I realized it was coming from, I think Janice is where it was coming from. And it just tells you that we're still chasing them, you know, it just tells us that this whole island, we have similar projects, I mean, similar issues, but they're not at the same scale. Anyway, you gotta end on the humor. So I won't be chasing it. I know that when I get off, I won't hear it again.
Thank you, Bill. I think that's just something that as staff, we compare notes often when we meet with our ACs, and the similarities are quite obvious, and so that's why it's so great to bring you guys together so that you can share with one another, because we're all in the same boat together, and maybe someone's cookie's a little bit louder on one end of the spectrum, but we still have cokies, right? So that's a great analogy, Bill. Thanks for bringing that up. Anybody else?
Yep, Bethany, one comment. Again, thank you everyone for participating, and thanks to the planning staff. I guess my hope is that in the exchange, during this forum, and then particularly for the planning staff, we all know that there are common issues throughout the island. And so my hope is that you guys, since you're having interactions with the various individual committees, is that you recognize, where those, common areas are, and then actually work to systematize the process so that we can streamline it and we can bring people together that need to address those common issues so that they can be resolved, and then, forward movement can happen. And that's sort of my hope. And then when you need help from the communities, the grassroots, put out the call to the committee members and the elected officials so that you get the flood of public testimony when you need it. Because, if people don't get it then, I think that's the power of community-based efforts. And I'm hoping that, that's the only reason why I stay involved, because, it takes time. So Crystal, stay focused. We're all here because we care about the island and each other. And changes happen is slow sometimes, but man, we just keep a hold of our vision and what we love about this place and each other. And we can make change happen, and hopefully sooner than later. Thanks.
Awesome, Brad. I think that is a great way to end our meeting. And so Keiko, can you go over next steps? Are you ready for that?
I can, and maybe instead of showing my screen, I'll just say them out loud, since there's not many. So of course, we'll be sending that questionnaire out to you, and some of what we're adding to the questionnaire will be because of what we've heard tonight. And so we're going to be doing some work to make it the most relevant that it can be for you folks. We'll also share the slide deck. And then, of course, once the draft minutes are completed, we'll send you folks that. And so part of the questionnaire will include questions around next AC convenings, times, and things like that. So those are the immediate. Did I miss anything?
Keiko, is that for this whole larger group, or is it for the individual ACs?
The next meeting.
For which?
So the next meetings that we're trying to schedule sometime in February and March would be individual AC meetings.
Okay.
So that folks could attend to planning area specific business. And so we'll be in contact with you folks too, asking for agenda items and sharing what we're hoping to also add to the agenda. So that'll be coming soon. And as soon as we get we're in the process of moving our current website over to a more friendly and visually pleasing website. The current one is not so user friendly. And so once we do that, then we'll be sure to send you folks that information too.
And also, Keiko, just to follow up on the request to get current
yes,
of the ACs out to everybody so that they understand what their individual ACs really look like rather than the pie chart.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess my one question is, some of the folks that brought up like there's some urgent issues happening in some of the various areas, YPO and Pololu. And so in the meantime, we just got to resort as individual members to sort of galvanize, to address those. That's what I'm kind of concerned about, the timing, is that, I understand the effort it takes to, convene these things, but at the same time, when hot topics come up in the like in Pualco, they have the wastewater thing, and how do we, be nimble enough to jump to those things that require that, and then also may have potential benefits for the rest of the, the island, and then also to inform the ACs, unless we just contact them, each other on our own. I guess that's my question, because we do have some stuff that's hot right now.
So I think if I can just jump in, part of that timeliness issue is tough, because as things come up, we don't always have the time to pull a meeting together, right? And so being able to work with your council members and helping them do outreach, if that's what they have asked to get community input, is one way to do it. The other thing is that we're working towards this communication piece, and so we can more readily be nimble and flexible to at least get some communication going back and forth, so that it's not just on silent mode for a couple months until you meet again. And hopefully that's another way of bringing forward any hot topics, that need to be thought about or discussed.
Could you also send out to us an updated list of the planning department staff? Because I thought the one that you sent out had some people that aren't there anymore.
Yes, we can certainly do that. For sure.
Okay, any other final comments or thoughts? Otherwise, hearing none, we can adjourn the meeting. Since we don't have quorum of anybody, we will just call it meeting adjourned at 6:04. Thank you guys so much for your time and energy tonight. I hope it was worthwhile to engage with each other, and I look forward to the next opportunity for this.
Thank you.
Ahoy ho.
Ahoy ho.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Happy holidays.